boo. That's why I have Jen here, because she's amazing. So our inability to have boundaries is one of the symptoms. It's a red flag that I'm already suffering for, like a bad case of self-doubt. Because self-doubt is not just fear. Self-doubt has to do also with my ability to create boundaries. Hi, Mildred. I'm going to mute you. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the workshop. Happy to have you here. So my inability to create boundaries doesn't allow me. It does not allow me to have the freedom of autonomy, because if there's something so simple as saying no, and I'm having a hard time saying no, that is already creating a problem for me, because then I will have to say yes to things that I might not want to say yes to. Yes. And so the idea is that if this is happening to you, I want you to start paying attention to how you think about things, to how, like when people ask you for something and you're not able to say no, you're not able to set boundaries. So now we already having an issue. Yes. The other thing, that how do I know that this is actually becoming a problem more than anything? It's like this idea of self-sacrifice. One thing is being of service, right, to my clients, to the people that I love. And the other thing is this idea that I don't have a right to have the time for myself. Yes. That self-care, this idea that self-care is selfish. Like if I'm already dealing with that, that's a red flag, that I'm putting myself back, that I'm putting myself last and everybody else goes first. And if that's the case, then that cannot be, right? So that's a red flag that I'm already having a bad case of self-doubt, right? What other symptoms, ladies? There any other symptom that you can think of based on what I just said that you think is creating a bad case of self-doubt? Just feel free to put it on the chat. Feel free to ask any questions. So why is this important? Why is important that we starting pinpointing these things? It is important because if we think that, for instance, my inability to say no is a normal thing, right? Because we have normalized these things. You know, we have never, because of fear. Why is it that we're not able to say no? Because we're afraid that people will not like me, or they're gonna judge me, or they're gonna think I'm not a good person, right? That already, like if you already have that idea in your head, that already is telling me that you're putting yourself last and you have a distorted perception of who you are. And so what is self-doubt? Self-doubt is having a fear. And there's only two fears. And I want you to listen to this because this is extremely important. This is only two fears that human beings have. And the two fears are the fear that I'm not enough. And if I'm not enough, people are not going to love me. People are not going to like me. And then based on those fear of not being enough, thinking that I'm not enough, then I'm going to have a fear of failure. I'm going to have a fear of, success. I'm going to have a fear of public speaking. I'm going to have some sort of fear because of that fear that I have of not being enough. Yes. Is that under? Yes. Imposter syndrome. Yes. That was actually on my list, boo. The imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome is that thing where like everything that you do, you think is because you're lucky, or you think because of something that is out of your control and not because of your own deserving. Like you have a hard time to give yourself credit. Does anybody here have a hard time to give yourself credit? Then that is a symptom that something is off, right? Like if you are looking for somebody else to look, to give you, to tell you how great you are, and you're not able to own your own greatness, then we have a problem. Yes. And so if any of these are truth for you, then we already have a case that these self-doubt thing, I call it the virus that is killing us, are killing our dreams. It's really been there for way too long. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of time, just 1 second, 1 minute to reflect on how long, Like, how long have I been suffering from this, any of these things? How many years? And what is costing me? What is costing my career? Right? I want you to think about this. Having this fear, having these doubts, what is costing my career? How is this impacting my career? How is this impacting my personal life, my relationship? Because maybe I have a great career, yes, but maybe I'm not attracted the right person in my life, and my relationships are kind of off. Or maybe I have a great relationship, but I'm not able to concentrate on my career for whatever reason, right? So I want you to reflect for 1 minute on what is this costing me really? If I think about it, because what happened is these fears, we kind of brush it under the rug, right? Like we brush it under the rug and we don't pay much attention to it. We think like, well, everybody has fear. I'm not the only one. Like we minimize it. And when we minimize it, we never find solution for this problem. And so it's important that we, first of all, acknowledge, right, that there is a challenge that we need to address. So what is self-doubt? Self-doubt is what Jen said about this imposter syndrome, is that having a distorted perception of myself. Oh, look at this. Camila says, Yolanda, since I was little. That's a long time. Crystal say, learning to not downplay my accomplishment has been a journey, right? So this is a real thing, ladies, isn't it? It's not just me talking de la que come burro, como dicen, right? This is a real thing. And so the idea is like, for instance, Crystal, if you reflect on, downplaying my accomplishment, how is that affecting my career? How is that affecting my success? How is that affecting my relationship if I'm not able to give myself credit? Because the thing is that we want people to love us, don't we? We will have a great relationship, don't we? We want all the things that are good, and we expect people to like us and appreciate us. And when people don't appreciate it, then you feel awful, right? You hate it. You don't like that. But then you actually do it to yourself. You hate when people call you like, oh, that was stupid. Don't you? Don't you hate those labels? But then if you look at yourself and the inner dialogue that you're having with yourself, you're telling awful things to yourself all the time. Don't you? That was stupid. Why would you say that? Right? So our inner dialogue is another symptom that this thing is really is pervasive. This is a pervasive thing in our lives. And we need to do something about this. Would you agree? Or if you continue doing this thing, and that's called self-sabotage, basically, there was a point that you didn't realize how the devastating consequences of self-doubt, but now you do know. And then once you know, there's no way of not knowing that. So before I was like, well, I didn't know it was so bad. And now it's like, well, what do I do about it? Right? What do I do? So self-doubt is, first of all, that imposter syndrome, a distorted perception of yourself. What is a distorted perception of yourself, ladies? What is that distorted perception? The way I see myself is wrong. I don't see myself to the right filters. And during the event, I asked you, ladies, if you remember Anna, Jasmina, I asked, Mildred Reyes, I asked, text 10 people and ask 3 great things about you and how I bring value into your life. And if any of you did that, the majority of people don't do it because they're afraid. The thought of doing that is petrifies them. Right, John? I asked John to do that yesterday and she was open to it, but we have to build her up to do that.
Yes.
Jen,
yes.
Right? Yes. Jen here, I just asked her to do that. And she's like, Jennifer, what about if people are busy? It's like
I texted people and they literally haven't gotten back to me. So I'm like, no, they're all busy.
Well, they're all busy, but the truth is that that's not our job. Our job is to actually do the exercise and see what happened. Just experiment. But the fear of what it means, right, doesn't allow us to do it. Ashley, welcome, Ashley. So the whole idea with having a distorted perception of ourselves is this, it's the way we see ourselves is very different, because Jen can be complaining about that, but she received a beautiful thing from her sister that made her cry, right? The way if she wouldn't done that exercise, if there's only one person that replies to you, that is already a win, because now she knows that her sister, the way her sister sees her is very different from maybe the way she thought she saw, that she's been seen by her sister. And the whole idea is like, the people around us, the way they see us is very different from the way I see myself. So if you were to only maybe 3 people just to begin, get the courage and just do 3 people, you will discover so many things about you that, you know, that you maybe never thought about it, that you already have, right? And so the whole idea is that in order for us to begin creating this path of self-worth, is to gain a little bit of courage. We need, if we're doing the same thing, expecting that something is going to change in our lives, we're doomed ourselves already. We cannot expect something to happen in our lives if we continue the same thing. That is insanity. That's the definition of insanity. And so the idea is that self-doubt is a misperception of myself. It's the way I see myself is something is wrong. And so here's the key. And this is what will change your life. Like, if you can do this, this is the secret of everything. If you can change the perception of yourself, how you see yourself, that will change your reality. It will change everything around you. Who likes that idea? That's a very, very great idea, isn't it? But it is true. If you start looking at yourself in a different filter, there's a part of your brain that's called the reticula. The reticula is what is called the filter. Your brain uses that to filter your reality, but your reality is based on your beliefs. Whatever you believe to be truth about yourself, that's what you will see. And so if I believe that I'm not worthy, if I believe that I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not successful enough, I don't make enough money, I don't do this, I'm too Latina, I'm too this, I'm not too white, I'm not too that. This will, our subconscious mind is gonna filter everything that we believe to be true, because the whole point of the subconscious is to make our life easier and faster, more efficient. It's like, for instance, you remember when you start riding a bike, was it easy? Or when you start driving a car, was it easy? What happened in order for you to drive that car? What happened? You needed to practice, wasn't it? And then once you practice and you learn, what happened? It became second nature, wasn't it? But everything at the beginning requires an effort, and then it becomes second nature. So now imagine what you think of yourself. If you're comparing yourself to other all the time, if you're fear of failure, if you're afraid of putting yourself out there, if you're afraid to say no, if you're afraid to make mistakes, if you're afraid to public speak, and if you're afraid to go and knock in people's door, how is that impacting, like those little actions that you might think they're not a big deal, how is that impacting your life? Because you have a belief that doesn't allow you to do those things. Yes? And so the key, if we want to change our reality, we need to change the way we see ourselves. And I want you to think about how you became, like how, like you, the way you see yourself, is it based on your own belief system? Or is it based on a belief system that you were born into? Like a lot of you didn't choose your date, did you? A lot of you didn't choose your religion, did you? A lot of you didn't choose your family or the belief system of your family. You were born into that. So by the time you're 7, I want you to listen to this. By the time you're 7-year-old, 40% of your values and belief is already formed. That's a huge number, isn't it? So now think about this. By the time you're 7, 40% of your values and beliefs are formed. 40% of your beliefs were not yours. They were not yours, were they? Do you have a problem with that? Because I have a problem with that. You go ahead and unmute yourself and tell me what's the problem you have with that. Anybody? I'm not doing this by myself, but if 70% of your beliefs are already formed by the time you're 7, what's the problem? Jasmina, you unmute yourself. Go ahead.
They're not your beliefs. Like you're not given a chance to form your own thoughts on it. Like you're just going with the flow, just going with whatever's told to you.
Exactly. And what's the problem with that?
Don't know no.
What was that?
I said so. And if that's wrong, and you don't know no better, you know, like you're being someone else. You're being that person.
Exactly. And so some of us had issue with, you know, the way I was raised, my father, my mother, I didn't agree with them. Some of us don't want to be my dad or like my mom. And then we end up being just exactly like that. And we don't even realize that we're doing that. Right? Isn't that the most frustrating thing? Like one day you find yourself being that person that you didn't want to be. Yes. But you see what's my problem here? I have a huge issue with this. Because if the subconscious mind is that part of you that creates an automatic thing, right? Like it creates like this little automatic thing and it takes you, right? Like once you learn to ride that bike, that's it. You just learn. It's like once you learn to ride, you know, to drive that car, sometimes you get to the place and it's like, oh my God, I'm already here. So now think about your behavior. Now think of those moments where you're reacting in a way that you're saying, why am I reacting that way? Why am I yelling? Why am I snapping out of, what am I angry? What is going on? Why am I feel like I'm always comparing myself? Why am I doing these things? Right? And that's the key. So I want you to, a lot of people have issue with this because they say, oh, I don't want to dwell in the past. Well, guess what, boo? Your past is what shaped you into who you are now. And if you're not willing to look into it, to learn, why is it? And I'm going to be cursing right now. I apologize for those people who doesn't like this part. But if I'm fucking doing that, like if I'm fucking doing that, doing the shit that it's just fucking not helping me. It's the fucking safe shit ever, like over and over and over. And I want to like have this 20 calls and I'm not to make this 20 call. And the moment I fucking pick up that phone, I'm like, oh, petrified. Oh, I have this fear of rejection. Oh, what about if they say no, I will need fucking therapy. This is what we do, isn't it? I mean, I work with tons of realtors. I know the shit. I'm not making this shit up. Okay. And so if that's the case, that I'm petrified because I have to call somebody that I never talked to because I have a fear of rejection, then what is costing you that fear of rejection? What is costing you? How many deals can you do if you don't have that fear? That's my question. And now if we take that fear of rejection and we put it into our personal life, and now I don't want to go meet this person or my partner, I'm not able to speak up for myself because I have this fear that I'm going to be criticized, he's going to reject me, blah, blah, blah. He's going to leave me. How is that impacting my life? I really want you to think of this as something serious. Self-doubt is not just a thing where I can take slightly. And if I'm not really taking this serious, Like, what are you taking serious? Because it's impacting your life. And guess what? I believe in reincarnation, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know. So as far as I know, I have this one life and I want to learn, I want to live it to my fullest. And so if I'm not living my life to the fullest because of these fears, then what am I doing? Who am I joking? Yes. So then now let's go into how we fix this problem. Boo, who's interested? Who wants to know? What do we do? Right? Everybody wants to know, what do we do? There you go, Boo. Let's do this. The first thing is awareness. What do you mean awareness? Well, if we've been treating this issue like it's not an issue at all, like it's not a big thing, right? That's the first problem we have. We need to treat that this is like a matter of life and death, because these things, this fear, this self-doubt, this imposter syndrome is not allowing me to be the person that God put me here to be. If I have this fear of rejection, this fear that something is not going to work out for some reason, and I'm not putting myself out there, then that's the first problem we need to fix. We need to become aware. We need to become aware of our inner thoughts. We need to become aware, like how I'm speaking to myself, what it is that I'm saying to myself. You have a little voice, it's called the ego. You know what I'm talking about? This little voice is telling you how you are not so good and you just missed the mark, and how come you're doing all this thing, but you never win, and everybody else seems to be doing better rather than you, and how stupid are you to think that you can do this thing? Do everybody hear that voice, or it's just me? Like, say yes if you do. Yes? Okay. Yes, we hear that voice, and that voice is like really crazy, isn't it? It doesn't tell you anything good. If you pay attention to it, it's always criticizing you, isn't it? How do you do that? Why do you say that? Look at her, she's looking at you. Why is she looking at you? She think you're better than her, blah, 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 all these things. Become aware. Awareness is the first key to solve any problem. If I don't think I have an issue, you might not know what it is, but if you feel something is off, then become aware. Check your thoughts. Check in with yourself. Listen to your thoughts. You see, they did the study and they discovered that we can, average people, I'm not talking genius level, just average people, we can have, listen to this, ladies, this is insane, okay? This is insane. 12,000 to 82,000 thoughts a day. In one day, you can have 12,000 to 82,000 thoughts. And guess what they did? They went even more into it, and they discovered that 85% of those thoughts are negative. Think about this, 85% of the thoughts are negative, and 95% is repetitive. Meaning every day we're telling ourselves how bad we are, how we missed that, how we didn't do this, how we didn't do that. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing the thing that I should be doing. That's a huge number, isn't it? I would be really scared. And so we need to become aware, because awareness is the first step to fix the problem. Now, the second is acceptance. And some people have issue with this. What do you mean acceptance? Do I need to accept that I'm so negative? That's one of my clients. I do an experiment when I start working with you, and I say, I want you to pay attention to your inner dialogue. Listen to it. Just listen to the little voice, and I want to tell and take notes. See what it is that it's saying. And one of my clients, she came back and she said, Judy, this is insane. I thought I was a positive person. I'm so disappointed. So I would say, don't be disappointed. If you don't understand what the problem is and the root cause of the problem, what's creating the problem, how can we fix the problem? In order to fix anything, we need to accept it. Accept it doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. Accept it means that, okay, this is what it is, right? And now what can I do to fix it? Yes. So let's start going to, we have what is called self-defense mechanism. We all have it. We do avoidance, right? We avoid something, we procrastinate, right? because we don't want to deal with it. And as we procrastinate, this thing go bigger, bigger, and bigger, right? So now if I tell you, like, think about how many years have you been dealing with this shit? And how many years? Look at what Jen says. Awareness is the key. Just being aware of my emotion and why I was feeling the way I was feeling helped me so much. Jen, do you want to share with us, Jen, about that? What do you mean by that? I'm going to put Jen on the spot right this moment. I'm going to mute myself.
Like the worst thing. For me, working with Judy, you think you know yourself, and then you start to reflect and see these patterns that start to happen, and you become so aware. And my issue at the beginning of that, and I don't know if anybody else has felt this way, but I started becoming so hyper aware. Like I'd be like, oh my God, I see that there. And oh my gosh, I'm doing this now. And that person is doing this and it's going to trigger me. And I know it's coming. But it was amazing because even though at first it's so overwhelming and you don't know how to process everything, it's just amazing when you're like, wow, I was able to adjust my behavior or think of a different way to handle a situation just because I was aware that something was a trigger for me, or that if I put myself in this situation, I'm going to have this emotional response. And it was like a whole new world opened up to me. It really is amazing. So for me, awareness, biggest thing. And then you have to work on accepting it too. But awareness, thank you for that, Judy.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Jen. She's very courageous. She doesn't like sharing, but she is. So, John, in your case, when we started working with me, like, what was that for you to become so aware? Like, I remember you saying the same thing that Jen just said. I remember you saying, I thought I knew myself. Go ahead, John, share with us.
I'm going to say, like, as you start working, you realize things that you like about yourself, and you also realize things you don't like about yourself. But first you have to come to terms with those things, and then so I think that's kind of where I am, is really kind of, as Jen said, like, really seeing the patterns in my life, beginning to understand like what is going to trigger me, and then ultimately finding ways of how to work with those triggers. But you can't work with them until you understand them, and until you accept that they're actually real and they're actually happening, and also accept that there's reasons why you have them. That you don't just have them, they don't just come from the air. There's a reason, there's a past that got you here. And I think that's part of the acceptance. The acceptance isn't necessarily saying, oh, I like that about myself. The acceptance is also saying, I really don't like that about myself, but I understand why I got to this place.
And once we do that, John, once we accept it, then we can work on changing that. Yes, which is what is the power of it, because think about this, 90% of the stuff that we do are subconscious, meaning 90% of the decision that we make, we don't even know where we're making them. We're making them because right now they're almost like an impulse. Yes. And so if we think about that, we pride ourselves to be free, right? We're free agents, right? Like God made me free. But if I'm not able to really be aware why I'm doing the thing that I'm doing, then are we actually free? Are we actually free? What do you think? What do you think, John?
No.
Are we?
No, because for me, like those triggers, I spiral totally out of control. And I can't possibly get control until I get a handle on understanding it.
There you go. And so that's the problem with that, is that when we working with 40% of the belief and value that was given to us. I mean, we were told that Santa Claus exists, which we know is a lie. So how many other things they lie about? And not because they wanted to, it's because they actually were taught the same thing. The same thing that they were taught, they are passing to us. And we're passing those through generations. generation to generation. And my whole thing is why I'm doing this is because I want to help to break the patterns of suffering, not just painful suffering, emotional suffering, but suffering from like the poverty. And what's a poverty? Poverty is a poverty of not knowing myself, not knowing what I act the way I act, not knowing what really, really motivated me. To me, that is a problem. It's a form of slavery in a way. The other thing is ask for help. I say that during the event. During the event, I talked about how women's, especially women's, we're so strong. We learn to be everything, superwoman. We learn to like just, do it. Just do everything. Like I believe Victoria said that during the event, that is this idea that our mother tell us that we're supposed to do everything. But guess what? We don't supposed to do everything, because if we have an issue with our heart, we don't just try to fix it ourselves. We go to our cardiologist, isn't it? Yes or no? Or do we go to somebody who knows about something, another organ? No, we go to a specialist, right? It's either you realize that you have some issue that you need to fix or you need to work on. Okay, if you're not ready to come to me, that's fine, but do something about it. Not just sit there with the fear, with the doubts, with the lack of motivation. Don't just sit there, because those things are happening for a reason. They're not just, like John said, they don't just come out of nowhere. So it is okay to ask for help. And here's the deal. If, let's say you ask, you feel like you're not ready, like I'm not ready to deal with this. This is kind of a little scary, right? You don't have to be ready. You have to be willing. Because if you think about every major decision in your life, were you ready? Were you ready to go to college? Were you? Were you ready to start your new job? Were you? Were you ready to marry if you're married? If you have kids, were you ready to have kids? Usually the biggest and most important thing in our life, we're not ready. Are we? But we are willing. And so all we need is willingness. A willingness to find the real solution. And here, this is an important one. This is huge. If out of everything, this is one thing you're going to take, I want you to write it down. On your emotional state. What does that mean, on my emotional state? Well, this is the thing that is happening lately, where it's almost expected that everybody has to be happy and positive. Like nobody can have a problem. Nobody can be sad anymore, because we run the risk of people telling us like we are downer, we're very negative. So this is this sort of like false positivism that is very toxic. And guess what? As humans, it is normal that you're going to feel emotions. As human, it is normal that one day you're going to be sad. So on your emotional state, don't go into denial. Don't downplay this. Like Crystal was saying, I downplay my achievement. Don't downplay it. Okay, if I realize that I'm doing that, that's a problem. Own it. Because when you own it, then you can do something about it. But if you're in la la land thinking that whatever this thing is, because this is the thing with emotion, they're temporary. They come, the fear comes, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure come, and you just sort of like, it passes. And when it passes, you kind of forget about it until it hits you again. Right? So here's one thing in order to become even more aware of these things, right? I'm not asking you to be a downer. I'm not asking you to be like in this state where you're always crying. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you that when you're in that state of fear, whatever fear you have, journal, write it. Like today is, what's today's date? Wednesday, April 7, 7/22. And I'm experiencing this feeling of rejection, this fear. Document it. And why would that be important to document these things? Because if you document it, you can really be you can really be realistic on how often I'm in there in that emotional state. If I made that state my home, meaning in most of the time I'm in fear and survival, then I need to know that. Because then a lot of people are saying, you know, I'm putting a lot of effort, I'm doing all the right things, I'm doing the marketing campaign, and I'm doing all this thing, but it seems like nothing is happening. So it might be because the state that you live in, your emotional state that you live in, is one of fear and survival, and you need to know that. And so document it. Don't be afraid of your feelings. I always say that feelings and emotion are your internal GPS. They're there for a reason. God put those things there so that it's trying to tell you something. And so when you dismiss it, then you're losing valuable information. So journal, write it down. And then what's going to happen is you start seeing a pattern, right? You start seeing the pattern like, oh, this is happening, and the trigger. This is happening. I respond like this when this person say this or that, right? So that's why it's so important, because you become very aware of what it is that you're doing. And here I am watching Ted Lasso, which I love, and I want to share this with you. Talking on a challenge is a lot like riding a horse, isn't it? If you're comfortable while you're doing it, you're probably doing it wrong, babe. I say, if you are not making mistakes, and you know how many mistakes we should be making every week or every day. Well, if I say every day, you're gonna be afraid. So every week, do you have what do you think? How many mistakes we should be doing every week? No ideas? Anybody? 100. We should be doing 100. If we're not doing at least 100 mistakes, then we're not doing enough. We're way too comfortable. And this life is not for you to be comfortable. It's for you to discover. It's for you to try things. It's for you to explore. And if this fear are not allowing you to explore, we have a problem, babe. So the 6 is be courageous enough to start the healing process. And that's what John was saying, and Jen, that at the beginning, that's a lot, Lucy said. I know, Lucy, it is a lot, babe. It's a lot. Well, if that's a lot for you, at least 20 mistakes a week, but not the same one. You have to, like, if you're doing the same mistake, then we're not learning, right? And so be courageous enough to start the healing process. Even when the emotion become overwhelming, have the courage to keep moving forward. Because how long have you been living with these fears? That's my question. How long have you been living with this fear? How is this fear not allowing you to do what you came here to do into this earth? You came here to do something that is only you can do. There is a talent you have. There is a calling you have. I call it the pull. It's a pull. You're pulled to do something, right? But if you don't have the courage and you stay in the dead zone, what is the dead zone? I mentioned the dead zone during the presentation. I call it the dead zone, the place where you're not happy, but you're not unhappy enough that you're going to do something about it. That's the dead zone. That's the description of the dead zone. How many live in the dead zone? Unhappy, but not willing to do anything about it, right? If you live in that dead zone, that's a scary place. Yes, Lucy, it is a scary place. We cannot allow ourselves to stay there because we only have one life. And this life was meant to be lived. And the last one, and this is the last one of the step, but it's a huge one. I hate the dead zone. Jen, yes, we don't like the dead zone because it's dead. That's the very definition of it. Celebrate the small victories and trust the process. Crystal, stop downplaying your success, your accomplishment. And this is why our body is an amazing, beautiful creation. It's a vessel. I believe that our body is the one that is holding our soul. I do believe that. I believe that with all my heart. And so that vessel is smart. God created that vessel as smart. It's very smart. It's not a pile of flesh. The body listens to everything. We are biochemically, listen to this, ladies. We are biochemically, chemistry wired for approval, for acceptance. Like we need that acceptance. What do you think that you're looking for validation so much? What do you think you like it when people celebrate you? But then you cannot celebrate yourself. You cannot celebrate yourself. And if you cannot celebrate yourself, it's because you're not understanding the value that you have. You're not understanding the gift that you have, the gift that was given to you. And so when you celebrate, and this is how I celebrate, it's very easy. I celebrate this like I'm celebrating that I'm doing this with you ladies. Whether you get one thing or two things or a lot of things, I'm celebrating. And you know why I'm celebrating? Because I am sharing the gift that was given to me. Jen says here, this is also why as women, we need to work together and lift each other up. We should be helping each other celebrate our accomplishment. And that is so true. It is true. But you need to start celebrating your own accomplishment, because we're wired to belong, to wanting to belong. And so instead of belonging, we're trying to fit in. And when we're trying to fit in, we're doing things that we don't like doing because we want people's approval. And then we're sending a message to our body. We're not being true to ourselves, and that makes us sick. We're sick when we're not being true to ourselves. And so when you celebrate your victory and you create, for instance, I do to my clients, say, take this hand and do this. Good job, John. I do that. Good job, Jen. Good job, Jolanda. Like, love yourself. Your body is listening. You are creating a neural connection. Because here's the deal with the mind. I'm going to tell you something about the mind that we rely so much on it. The mind does not know the difference in between what's real and what's not real. When you say great job, it doesn't know that it's Jen telling me good job or it's me telling me good job. It doesn't know the difference. And that's why beliefs are so dangerous. Because if you believe something about yourself that is not truth, if you believe that you're not good enough, and you truly believe that in your heart, in your core, that's it. Your mind is convinced that it's true. Whatever it is that you believe, it becomes your truth. You manifest that. That is how powerful you are as a human being. And one of the things that Miriam Williamson says is now our darkness that creates the fear. We're not afraid of our darkness. We're afraid of our light. We're afraid of our power. And so I'm going to leave you here with this quote, and then I go with you to see 3 things that you learned today, because I know it's already 7:30 and I want to honor your time. 3 things that take away from today, 3 things that you can take away from today, or 1 thing. And I may not work out how, it might not work out how you think it will or how you hope it does, but believe me, it will all work out exactly as it is supposed to. Our job is to have 0 expectation and just let go. If we can learn just to let go, our false belief, the things that are holding us back. I will unmute you, ladies, or you can go ahead and unmute yourself and tell me what is 1 thing that you can take from today. Anybody? Go ahead. John, you have the mic.
The mic. It is, I guess, really having acceptance and becoming aware of who you are. And accepting that who you are is who you are, and we're all a gift, and we're all special, and we can all be wonderful with whatever we have. So don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Love that message. Who wants to? Thank you, John, for being here, and thank you for sharing. Who wants to go next?
Me,
Go ahead.
Yolanda.
Yolanda, dígame.
For me, it was like I discovered why it's so important. You know, I work with children, and this is when it's like I feel like my purpose in life is like, you know, like you said, how important it is how we shape the kids when they're young. You know, how we form for everything that is, you know, how we love and everything that our little minds is get from what how important it is what we feed our kids emotionally and in every single way.
It is extremely important. And here's the thing, whether we believe that even if we don't talk about our fears, guess what happened? We project them. We always projecting these fears. We don't even have to talk about it. Humans, we're such a power that we can feel these things. Thank you, Yolanda, for sharing. That's a huge one, huge, that we project this fear. And that's how these generational pain are established. And they keep on, like, if we don't break this. So when we do a healing process, we don't do it for ourselves only. We do it for our kids. We do it for the past generation. We honor them, and we honor the present generation that are coming, the future generation. Jasmina, you want to share? Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you very much. Go ahead, babe.
I was trying to get out of the screen that I was in.
Got you, not a problem. What do you got from today, babe?
So much. Okay, where do I start? I'll say the biggest takeaway is accepting where you are and acknowledging where you want to go. That's how I see it. That's what I got from it, right? And not being afraid, and letting go of that fear and just doing it. Just doing it. Regardless of how your fear is taking over you, just do it and then see what happens from there.
Amen. Yeah. And that requires,
I'm gonna work on that.
Yes, and that requires faith. And that is something that I didn't mention, but I'm huge on faith. Without faith, there's nothing we can do. And faith, what is faith? The definition of faith is believing in something that is not here yet. But that's how powerful we are as humans. Everything that you have right now in your life, I want you to, this is important. Think about this and write it down. Everything you have in your life right now is what you think you deserve. And that's huge. Everything you have right now in your life is what you think you deserve. And so if there is something out there that you want and you haven't realized it yet, it's because deep inside, you don't think you're deserving of that. So you have to make yourself deserving. And why are you deserving? Because you're a child of God. You were created. You were here. That's all. I have a doctor who's one of my clients, and she say, if we will know, she's a pediatrician, what it takes for that little sperm to go through that path and the odds of making it, we should be at odds with life. Life is a miracle. So the fact that you're here tells me that you're already deserving. You have to make yourself into deserving. You're not ready, be willing. And have faith. But faith by itself doesn't work. You have to add action to faith. Small step every day. Compound effect. Small step every freaking day. Ana Plaza, dime. Dice Ana, you are so right. It's probably not the dark that we're afraid of. It is accepting the light that is scary or just mind-blowing. It is. It's not the darkness that we're afraid of. It's our power. We're afraid of our power. We're afraid of our power. So, Ana, come on, dime, cuéntame.
Nada, I just gotta accept what's going on in my life, and sometimes I just pinch myself and I'm like, my God, are you serious? Like, I guess in my individual life, I know that I'm good at what I do. I love with passion helping others. And I know for a fact that I am good at what I do. So for me to become a very few female-owned brokers here in Connecticut is mind-blowing, because I was prophesied that this was going to happen like way back. And I was like, yeah, I'll go to a bank. But when I ended up losing my job for not doing nothing, I was just like, okay, I'm going to surrender whatever you say. And that's what I'm going to have to do, because I have no choice, right? And in less than 30 days, I got my license for my broker license, and people thought I planned it. I didn't plan it. I'm being forced to walk, because I guess that's what his plan for me is, to help others and, and stop being in the background, stop being the Dominican, la chiquita dominicana that, caters to others, do
Dominicanita.
everybody else's job, and not get the credit. So it's just, I'm already in business for a year, but I'm just like, I have to accept it. I don't think I have not, like, I have to pinch myself, be like, yeah, this is happening.
And
It's
so
hard.
so here it is, Anna. I got this for you. You have to accept your greatness. Like, accept your greatness, because you are created in the image of the source of life. You are that. You are a representation of that source of life in this earth. That's who you are. That's huge. And I didn't took that out of I took that. Even the old sacred scriptures say it. You're created in the image of God. Whether you believe in God, it doesn't matter. But you are. But we are diminish ourselves so much. We make ourselves small because we don't want people to feel uncomfortable. Think about that one. So thank you.
Probably sometimes you want to just be humble, you don't want to like overstep nobody. It's not about, to me, it's not about a competition or me making myself look better than anyone, so, but sometimes you have to just walk by who it is that
Here's
you are.
I work with a lot of Latinas, and they have all the same story. I am humble, but here's the deal. The deal is, if we don't get permission to share our greatness and on our greatness, how can we inspire others? This is not for us. We don't do this for us. If I don't accept and own my greatness, I wouldn't be doing this here with you ladies. I wouldn't be working with Jen. I wouldn't be working with John. I wouldn't be working with Yolanda, and I wouldn't be doing any of that. And a lot of people will be suffering because of it. Yes.
Agree.
Yes. You see? And so we do it because it's for our own, to give other permission, to inspire others. Yes, my love? Lucy, cuéntame. What do you got from today? Thank you, Anna.
So I owning my own greatness. For a very long time, I second guessed my decision as a professional for a very, very long time. And I knew that I was capable. I knew that something told me I was ready, and I knew that I was capable, and I was also willing. But now that I'm here, I'm dealing with self-doubt. And I don't want to say that I've never had an issue with self-doubt, but I guess I kind of always put it on the back burner and complemented it with other things. But now that I'm in this business, I am dealing with a lot of self-doubt. Every morning I wake up and I tell myself that I have to do this because I've already taken the plunge. And so I don't have a choice to sink. I can only swim. And that's where I am now. So what I took from this, I'm owning my own greatness, and I'm having awareness of trying to be aware of my inner thoughts, just having awareness of my inner thoughts. And I like this last passage that you mentioned, is everything you have is what you think you deserve. And I speak truth to that. And I know that I deserve more. And I'm gonna get there.
I love you, and I would love to talk to you. Would that be okay if I reach out?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and thank you for being vulnerable, and thank you for being you. We appreciate that because we need to. It's okay to be vulnerable, and that's very courageous, and I honor you for that. Everybody give Lucy a virtual hug, please. Everybody give Lucy a virtual hug. We love you. You're not alone. You're not alone in this. Yes. Okay, Ashley Guzman. Dime, Ashley. I'm speaking Spanish to you guys like you know what I'm saying. I hope that is true. Ashley, can you hear me? All right, what about Mildred Reyes? Can I unmute them? Mildred, can you hear me? Jessica Meras?
I'm like, she's going down that line. My name is gonna come up.
Hi, Jessica.
I can relate to everything everybody said. So what I got out of this was to to listen to myself, like if I'm listening to a friend, listen to my feelings. My feelings are information. Maybe I'm not overreacting. Maybe I'm right. Maybe, and like Anna said, I mean, I sometimes I think I doubt myself so much, and I'm so afraid of disappointing people, and I don't know. It's just, yeah, no. So this was great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the first thing is awareness. So yes, your feelings are it's a source of information. Don't be afraid of them. Document them and then ask yourself, as you documenting them, like what are my triggers? What triggered that reaction? Why am I reacting that way? Where's that coming from? I have a document that I will share with you. Do we have everybody's email, Jen, to share this so that you can actually and also if you go to my website iveras.com, in my blog there is one that I actually talk about. I feature a lot of my clients in my blog, and there is a really great information. There's one that's called self-confidence versus self-worth. What's the difference? That's a great one. And there is another one that I don't remember the name of it, but it talks about this, Jessica. If you want to learn more about that, the train of thought and how to listen to your thoughts, that is a good one. Do we have the name for that, Jen? In my blog, there's a lot of resources. I want you, lady. Mildred, go ahead.
Yes,
Thank you so
hi.
much, Jessica. Hola, Mildred.
Hi.
Hi.
Hola. Just something that you did mention, like usually career-wise, I mean, for the people that know me, I'm a pretty like strong person that believes I'm a superstar. However, you did mention something about balancing your personal life. That for me was kind of interesting. Like you know what you need to do, and it's like you just don't take that step. So by you saying that you're never ready to do something that can take you to the next level, either it's personal or business wise, I think that's something that you mentioned today that it's I'm thinking now.
Yeah, you're not ready, but you need to be willing. That's all is needed. You might not be
Correct.
ready, but willing, right?
Correct.
Yeah, because if we wait until we're ready, we'll never do it. That's just the
Yep.
truth. Because you're never ready. Like to the biggest thing in your life, you will never ready to do.
Yep.
Okay, so let's be willing. And so Camila, I know that you want to talk. Go ahead, Camila. Camila is one of my amazing clients. Camila, I know that you are doing college and all that, boo. I'm so proud of you. Big applause for Camila.
Thank you.
Dime, Camila.
Oh, I was eavesdropping the entire conversation, and I was with my friend, but I was eavesdropping in the conversation. And I just wanted to say to everyone that, like, just do what you love in life, if that makes sense. Like, do what you love and, like, chase what you want in life. And even though you're scared of going after it, the best thing you can do is just go after it. And I really do deeply say that to the bottom of my heart. And you ladies really are amazing, and I hope that you guys navigate through life peacefully. And that's all I wanted to say. So thank you.
And Camila, can you share how old are you, boo? I'm so proud of you.
I'm 18 years old.
She's 18 and she's speaking like she's 40. Can we just give her a round of applause? She worked with me though, Camila. How was that experience working with me?
It was really awesome. I think you helped me through a lot. You helped me navigate a lot. And you were the one that mainly helped me get my shit together. Almost. I'm still learning. But you helped me get my shit together, especially in middle school. And you were the one that really like helped me put myself together a little more.
Amen to that. And I am so proud of you. And Ashley say, I have learned that I'm always need to acknowledge the progress I had made as an individual, and that I need to always be proud of myself. And Ashley, that is so true. And acknowledge yourself. We always waiting for people to acknowledge us. But what about when that doesn't happen? Right? So that's why it's so important that we celebrate our victories, that we celebrate those things, and we create new neural connection as we do that. Karina, you haven't spoken, boo. Tell me what you got.
Oh my God, I have so many thoughts about this conversation, but especially the part when you say pay attention to your inner dialogue, because I find myself being kind to others, be kind to my daughter, to my husband, but barely I hear myself saying nice thing to myself. So yeah, that was a big aha moment for me. The things I say to myself, how I perceive myself. Yeah, this is just trust the process and keep going.
Yeah. And Karina, why do you think is that important, that, you know, what you just say is so key? And how many of you ladies do that? How many of you are always compassionate to other people, but we are not compassionate to ourselves, and the way we speak to ourselves and the way we treat ourselves? And when we do that, we're harming ourselves. So
True.
tell me, Karina, why is that important to realize your inner dialogue?
It is important because it's part of knowing yourself, accepting your values, you know, realizing like you are in the right place, in the right moment, wherever you are, the right stage of life, you know. It's very hard for us women in this world that we live in, where a lot of things is expected from us to be the perfect professional, the perfect mother, the perfect friend or wife, you know. So I don't know, it's like being proud of recognizing and being proud of who you are now, you know, because we can't take anything for granted. Like that's my thing.
Me vas a hacer llorar. I know this woman for so long.
Thank you, Yudy.
I love you. We do take ourselves for granted. And that's the worst thing that we can do. Because as we take ourselves for granted, we take life for granted. And the value, you know, the value that we have, that we must share. And who benefits when you take yourself for granted? Nobody benefits. But who benefits when you can really step into your power? Everybody benefits. Everybody benefits. So let's stop taking ourselves for granted. Does everybody cry in this session? Crystal, talk to me. Thank you, Karina. Te amo. Te quiero. Oh my God, I miss you. Crystal, dime. Grateful for you and to be able to share in this safe space. Lucy, crying, I cry with passion, just so you know. You know what that means, crying with passion? Crying is actually a mechanism that the body has to cleanse itself. So we cannot be afraid of crying. We need to cry. If I'm crying, I'm gonna cry with my heart. Go ahead, Crystal. I the same. Yes, I know. That's why you're saying that. Go ahead, Crystal.
For me was that like we're all going through this, like nobody's like by themselves. Like I know Judy always says you're never by yourself, you're with yourself, but in general, we're all going through the same thing. Whether doesn't matter if our career paths are different, or like some of us are moms, some of us are not moms. We're all like having the same struggle and dealing it with it in different ways. And it just like speaks to so much that we're taking like the steps and we're getting out of that dead zone to like help ourselves, and like we want to strive for to like better ourselves and fully like embrace that self-worth and like get the self-doubt like out of our lives. So I think that huge, it's like very comforting to know like I'm not going through this alone. This is like just a part of life, and like we can get through this and make change for the better.
Amen to that, boo. Amen. And so now we're gonna finish. It's already wow. Oh my God, I didn't realize it's almost 8, and I know you ladies have a lot of thoughts to do. But whenever I'm finishing anything, I always say thank you. And so I want to say thank you. And you can write your thank you on the chat so that everybody can see it. First of all, if we have I have a discovery call that everybody that attend this workshop, you can, except for my clients, you're already working with me. We can have a conversation and talk more about how can we do more. Like if we are really committed to changing these patterns, like give me a call. We have a form that you can fill out, or you can email me, or you can text me. Jen, can you please share my phone number? You can totally text me. If I don't reply right away, I will reply. So feel free to reach out. Feel free to ask for help. Let's not be shy. We're talking about our lives here, and our lives is important. So I wanted to say thank you to each one and every one of you for your time, for taking this time, for working on yourself. I wanted to say thank you for Kathy, who invited me to that event, and it was so amazing. And that's why I wanted to have the workshop to honor you, lady, to give you more, because I know that this message is needed. So I will say thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. Please share my blog. In my blog, there's a lot of resources that are free resources. And we're working, this is the last thing that we're working on. I just wanted to share really, really quick. Let me see.